I am not going to have hostility. I'm very angry. You can definitely step away from me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so here's your argument. In a nutshell. A child being aborted is being raped and destroyed.
It's being killed, yes.
Right. So the life that it could have had is being taken from it.
Yeah, well, the life that it has.
Okay.
So it's a lie.
No, because once it is dead, it is not a lie.
Yes, okay, but it's a lie. Do you believe in biology?
Yep.
Biology says life begins at conception. You agree? At conception. Sperm, egg, life. And it's a distinct human being.
Okay.
So it's a distinct life that's being taken. And your argument is the father rapes the mother, therefore the child deserves the death penalty. That's your argument.
No, the mother should not have to bear the consequences of the sin of the man.
You know what the Word of God says about that rapist? He deserves to die.
Yeah.
And if we would do that, if we would hold to a godly standard of justice and rapists would actually die, then we wouldn't have rape.
Okay, so why are you addressing that issue?
Huh?
It's a cyclical issue.
No, it is absolutely, and we do address when we have people like you that come and say, "What about rape?" We say the same argument because the same argument you make about rape, it's the unjust. It's somebody doing something to a woman that they ought not do to her body without her consent. It's the very same thing that happens in that place 5 times a day to little image bearers of God. That's what happens in there. It's not the babies don't get the consent. They don't even have a choice to consent. And your argument is the dad sinned against the mother in an atrocious way. Therefore, the baby should die. That's your argument, and that's not a just argument.
How do you justify that mother has to live that life, bear that child?
Yes. So, number one, life begins at conception, and all life we ought to protect. That's the justification. We should not murder innocent children. That's the justification. Now, as a pastor, we come alongside the mother. We love her. We care for her. We do all that we can for her. And when she takes it to church, I'm saying for me, and I would fundamentally agree, the church has done an awful job at that. I would agree. I would hold your hand and I would say the very same thing. The ones that trumpet this place and say, we want it to burn down, are the very ones that when the mom leaves, don't do anything. That's not what we're here for. 60 babies in the last 6 months have left this place alive. And 38 of those have gotten involved in local church. Those families have been poured into monetarily, money. We've helped them. But that, divorced of the gospel, is not us being obedient to Jesus.
What about the people that do not want support, that they don't want to have the child?
So, you don't, okay? If they don't want it, they should be able to kill it. Right? That's your argument? What if a 17-year-old girl today has a baby, 10 days later she says, I don't want it, I can't afford it, whatever, all the arguments we get here, and she drowns her baby in a bathtub? What would you say? Should we prosecute her for murder? Even if she gives the argument, I couldn't pay for it, I didn't want it. That's what you're ultimately saying. The foundational issue is this: are those babies alive, and are they distinct from the mother? Simple.
Without the mother, would they be alive?
No, of course not. But my wife's 39 weeks pregnant. We're about to have our baby. If we leave our baby in a room at our house, close the door, and we leave it there, what's going to happen? She's going to die. She needs her mother and her father to survive. That's not an argument to say we can murder it. Any baby, newborn to 2 or 3 years old, is dependent on the mother and the father. That's not an argument to say we should kill it.
But the point is that you have a choice. You're going to bring a child into
You have a choice. You're saying you have a choice to kill it. We're robbing people of their choice to murder their baby.
You have a choice to murder a rapist.
Absolutely, but what do we do to the murderer today that murders? Where do we put him? Where do we put a murderer when we try him for murder? Where do we put a murderer today? We try him for murder and then put him in jail, right?
It depends on the case.
Huh?
It depends on the case.
Well, of course, you have to go to trial and stuff. Yeah, but again, you would support me in condemning a mother who drowns their 10-day-old son.
No, because if a 17-year-old child.
You wouldn't condemn a mother drowning her 10-day-old child. You would not condemn that. Do you see how futile that is?
She is mentally ill, and she's psychologically ineffective.
What if she's not? What if she's not?
She's a sociopath and a murderer.
Okay, so should we try her as a murderer? Okay, that same argument's done here.
So there's a separation from when pregnant and carries the baby and can have an abortion,
is it a human?
why are you differentiating between a human and anything else in the world?
I'm not. You are. You're saying the baby that's 10 days old is fundamentally different than the baby that was conceived yesterday. I'm saying they're not. They're both human beings. And they deserve our respect. They deserve to be protected. Because those babies, the 100,000 babies in this place that have died, they have not had any say. Their bodies have been torn apart, sucked through a tube, starved to death via a pill, with no consent on their behalf. And the ones that come out here and trumpet, what about the rape? The very same argument against it. And rapists deserve to die. God says if you rape a woman, you die. He values women that much. If we would value women enough to say that, then it wouldn't happen as much. But the very same argument against rape is the argument we're giving here. It's a human being, it cannot consent to what's happening, and they're being torn apart in there. And it's no different than a 35-year-old mother, right, who has a job, already has 4 kids, says, I don't want to deal with a 5th kid, drowns her baby, 10 days old. It's the same argument. It's the same thing that's happening. The fundamental issue is this. Are those babies humans? And they are. Are they alive? They are. At conception, life begins. And if they are human beings and they have life, then they deserve our protection. And there's no argument that you can make. Money, rape, incest, nothing makes that baby guilty of the death penalty. Nothing. They're innocent.
If a child does not have a soul, she should go full term and die after birth. The mother should carry that child and deliver a dead baby.
Say it again. Say it one more time.
Okay, it's a cranial disorder where you don't have a soul.
Yeah.
So as soon as she's out of the amniotic fluid, her skin cancer soul and her brain damage and
Yeah, so there are already laws in the books for that. I would say, all doctors that we talk to would say their number one goal is to have a healthy baby and a healthy mother. If it's the case that the baby's going to die, then no, I have no problem with, like, ectopic pregnancies, for example. You know what ectopic pregnancy is? Yeah, so basically, no ectopic pregnancy can ever go to full. They're always going to die. So that's not an argument against what we're doing here. It's not an argument. And if you talk to doctors, which we do, it's not an argument. You said the baby's basically dead anyway. Okay. I would say no. Don't take a dead baby to term.
So why are you protesting the entire clinic when you're actually protesting the moral compass of somebody who is being promiscuous, conceiving children without responsibility, abusing and neglecting the child, the unborn child, because of their inability to be an adult? How do you know the difference between the two people?
Well, we know the difference. Number one, the numbers tell us the vast majority, not just the people we talk to when they come in here, but the vast majority of the abortions that happen in this country are not the worst case scenario, rape, incest, the baby's going to die. It's simply, I don't want it, I can kill it. That's why we're here. Because those doctors in there, they proclaim that
What have you done this week to stop people from having irresponsible sex, to stop people from promiscuity, to stop people from spreading STIs, spreading pregnancies like a sexual transmitted disease? What have you done for that?
So I'm a pastor, so I preach the gospel. And I preach the counsel of God. God says sex is for husband and wife.
Where and how?
Where and how? What do you mean? I preach the gospel at church to my students, to our congregants. Again, that's what a pastor does. But your argument is, all this promiscuity, I would agree that people are sexually promiscuous, yes. Therefore, we should kill babies. Like, that's your argument. I would say, let's...
That's what you derived from what I said. That's not my argument.
I apologize. But what I am saying is the argument that people are sexually promiscuous, of course, they always will be, they always have been. That does not change the fact that what happens in this place is the murder of innocent human beings. That's why we're here at this place. Because this place kills babies. Babies die in this place. Innocent babies. And they don't die because the mother's in, the vast majority of these babies don't die because the mother's in any danger or anything. It's because the mother doesn't want it and they want to kill it. And they kill it. And that's not just. And it's the same argument you make to a mom that drowns a 10-year-old baby. It's the same thing. The only difference between these babies and you and me is size and level of development. That's it. And those are not reasons to kill anybody. They're not. You spend the same time that these babies will spend in the womb of your mother. Same for me. It's all it is it's size and level of development. And those are not reasons to justify the murder of them. It's not. Why are you here backing this place?
Women have choice. Women have the right.
What about the little woman in the womb? What about her? Does she have a choice? What about the little girls today that will die in this place?
What if they don't die? What happens to them then?
Well, okay.
How do you protect them?
Now, I would agree, and again, I'll go back to this. I agree that the United States in general has done a terrible job at, here's the deal, my wife and I, we're on a waiting list in South Carolina to adopt, okay? It's going to be $40,000 to adopt that baby, okay? You pay $400 and you go and you can kill your baby, okay? My wife and I are having to be picked and prodded. People are coming to our house, checking our windows, our faucets, paying $40,000 to be able to adopt the baby, and yet you pay $400 you can come kill it. So I'm not arguing saying that our system is just and righteous and we should just let it go. But what I am saying is what happens in here is unjust. It's unjust. And as soon as these places go away, then what happens afterwards?
Do you guys foster?
Huh?
Do you foster?
No, we were, our plan was we were starting to foster when we got pregnant. No, and that's fine.
Very big in your
No,
hand.
sorry. No, sorry.
But I get that triggered.
Our goal was to foster. Then we got pregnant. So we have a baby. You know, my wife's 38 weeks pregnant. We're, you know, whatever happens then, we're still on the waiting list to adopt. But again, that is a goal. But right now we're gonna make sure our baby's healthy and go the 10 weeks with our baby at home before that.
No, you're not gonna foster one of these babies.
Well, absolutely. So whenever we're here, we proclaim the gospel. Whenever a mom goes in there, I say, if you don't think you can keep this baby, I'll adopt it. We tell them. Each one that stands on a ladder, we have reconciled that if a mom turns around and says, you keep this baby if I say take it to her, we will. And we have families, we have 50 or 60 families we could call. It would be yes, absolutely. That's what we're here to do. We're here to be consistently pro-life. And I would agree, people aren't consistently pro-life. They love to see a woman walk out the door, but then they leave her to her own self.
$40,000 to adopt fostering children. You're paying $40,000 to adopt.
We haven't paid it yet.
You're adopting it when you keep into foster care for children that are abused.
Well, my tax dollars already go to that system.
Right,
Yeah.
they would pay you.
And it's a broken. It's a broken system. Would you say?
If a drug addict goes in there and doesn't have an abortion and comes out and has a child and social services takes the child, he goes into foster care.
Yes. And I agree. The church should do.
You're not there for that. You're there for adopting and having a child.
Yeah.
But you're not taking care of foster care.
So I would agree that the church, it's their mission to do that, and the church has not done a good job. Okay, they haven't. Yes, I am. Absolutely. And so
What can you do differently?
what can I do differently? I preach the gospel that says that life begins at conception, that God values these babies, and when God changes hearts and people really understand the gospel, that's when heart change occurs and the systems change. But that doesn't change the fact that this place kills babies every single day.
And that baby is going to go into foster care and be completely neglected and then be right back in a clinical
So what's your ultimate?
It's not product of the abuse and neglect of the child.
So what you're saying is, and forgive me if that's not your argument, this baby may suffer. Yeah. So let's kill it.
No, I'm saying, is it better to guarantee a quality of life?
I think it's better to guarantee life. So for the baby that walks in here.
Quality of life doesn't matter.
No, not it does. But in this circumstance, life matters because people are dying. Children are dying.
So if your wife was incubated with on life support, functionally brain dead, had no actual viability of life, you would keep her on life support?
Well, it depends on what she wants. what our state does.
She gets a choice
Yeah.
about life. She can have a choice.
Absolutely.
But a child who's almost definitely doomed to no quality of life doesn't get a choice.
Well, what choice are you giving them? You're saying we should kill them. You're giving them no choice.
Okay, so they don't have an option of choice. They're born, they don't get an option. They're a child. They don't make choices.
I would agree, but essentially you're saying, okay, they're not going to have a choice when they're in adulthood, let's kill them.
Like, really quickly. So your argument is that, it's cool because they need to have a choice. They're going to almost inevitably end up in foster care.
You don't know that.
Okay, but you don't know that they're not.
No, I agree. I don't know.
How many kids are in foster care?
A lot.
You are not fostering.
No.
You're adopting a
Yeah.
baby, $40,000 later. You're having a child, but you are not taking care of it.
Are you fostering?
Yeah.
Praise God. Awesome.
I'm a
Awesome.
foster
Praise God.
kid.
Praise God. Okay, good. So what ultimately my argument is essentially at the base level, life begins at conception. We should keep them safe. They should not be killed.
That's the fundamental difference is that I believe that life is the life lived and the quality of life given. If you are conceived, but you are brain dead, you have no cognitive ability, that you are, no, you shouldn't.
Would you?
If your life, the baby that you have, if you knew that it was going to perish, or you knew it was going to have no viability of life.
What do you mean no viability of life? Like a hard life?
It's going to have a neurological condition that will stop cognitive ability.
No, I don't think you should kill it. No. No, you bring the baby to term. Yes, we don't kill babies. We don't kill the mentally handicapped. So I'm trying to hold you to consistency, okay? So you would not condemn me for going to middle school today and killing all the mentally handicapped children in the classroom because their life is cognitively they're having trouble.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's essentially the underneath what you just said, that the baby's going to have cognitive disabilities, it should die. That's essentially what you're saying.
They have a neurological condition that continues to cause cognitive ability.
Yeah.
If they have no cognitive life, your child is a neurological synaptic pathways and brains.
We protect life. We protect life. Life is worth protecting. You see, foundationally,
The foster kids, you're not protecting the foster kids' life.
Huh?
Why aren't you fostering?
we are.
You're not.
Yes, we are. Number one. Well, number one, my state tax dollars go to that. And again, I would agree the system. Yes, I agree that the system is broken. Okay, but the way to fix it is not letting mothers kill their babies before they go to foster care. So your argument is between more children in foster care alive, you would rather them be dead. That's what you're saying. Okay, well, I mean, I pray you see the futility in that. That you're saying a child should be dead rather than having a life that's hard. Yeah. What you don't think they suffer when they die? You know what happens eternally to the children that die?
Yeah, with the sailing and the dilation.
No, I'm talking about eternally. See, my fundamental presupposition is that there's a God who...
I'm agnostic.
Yeah.
You can't know.
And that's fine. And that's totally fine. But what I'm saying is my fundamental presupposition is different than yours. My presupposition is...
God, I don't.
Okay? But the problem is you don't have a leg to stand on and say that what...
I want to hear that new theory.
I know, yeah, hold on one second. My leg that I stand on is the Word of God. The God that says, He said to the prophet Jeremiah, before I formed you, before you had a heartbeat, your skull was formed, before you had skeletal structure, before you had brain matter, before I formed you, I knew you. According to the God who exists. According to the God who exists, that you know exists, the God of the Bible, Yahweh. Through His Word, fundamentally through Jesus Christ, through His Word. His Word came from Him. It's theonostas, God breathed. Man wrote it. And they were carried on by the Spirit. Absolutely.
And they have an agenda.
Absolutely.
And men are politically
says he exists is the only. But again, it works for you as well, because the image of God is oozing out of you, because you love children. You do. And you love children enough to foster them, to take care of them. And the only way you get there, not to say that any atheist doesn't love children, but the only way you get there with a proper foundation to stand on is if you have a biblical worldview, that you know that God exists, that this isn't just matter and time and chance acting on matter, but there is actual purpose to the universe and being. You do. To be consistent, you do. Absolutely. Absolutely, you do. Why do children matter? Like, why protect them?
Because they're our future.
Okay.
You guys are looking at the past, looking at your afterlife. Because literally, that's where I live.
Yeah.
This noise should not be happening.
Yeah. Do you believe?
Fucking megaphone. We should all be able to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we can't,
yeah.
right?
Well, we are. Well, we are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the moral of the story is that this is the shit that is the problem. Right?
People proclaiming the gospel is the problem? You don't think what happens? Yeah, but you don't think what happens on the other side of the fence is the problem. The murder of children is not the problem. The ones that are standing and calling out, crying out to save babies, that's the problem. Oh no, that's fine. But you say what goes on there, the murder of babies, no, not the problem. The men standing on the ladder proclaiming the truth of the gospel, that these babies actually matter and we should protect them, that's the problem.
Here's the thing, it fits within your image, then this is right. It's in your box, this is right.
Okay,
I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you perceive as right.
But would you agree that there's an objective standard of good? Like there's a standard of good that goes beyond what we think.
But you've already said that the ectopic pregnancy, that is a worthy cause,
yes.
Right?
Yep.
You don't know different. You don't know.
Well, no, I don't.
Imagine if your wife had to come in here. She had to have a DNC. The baby was dying, and the was rupturing, and the uterus was rupturing, and she was going to die.
And we've talked to multiple mothers. We've talked to multiple mothers in here. And we preach the gospel to them.
She has to
It's the gospel.
all the way in there. No.
That's the gospel. That's what we do.
Because you're condemning her for something she doesn't get to do.
We are calling sinners to repentance, which is the very same thing Jesus called us to do. Every creature. Okay, it says, go to the world, preach the gospel to every creature. That's what we're doing. Would you agree with me that there is an objective standard of good? That there's something beyond mere convention? You don't think so? I think it is. So, is chattel slavery in the South, was that absolutely horrible and wicked? That's chattel slavery, yeah. Was it wicked? What about the slave owners that thought it wasn't wicked? Does that change the fact that it was wicked? So if I was a slave owner, I said, no, this isn't wicked, these are my property, I paid for these people, my property, my choice, right? But then you have the church say, no, these people are image of God. And I will, by the way, say, church members, the church has warrants to, church members own slaves, people in church members own slaves. But that does not change the fact that slavery in the South was fundamentally wrong. Would you agree? So it doesn't matter what somebody thinks. It's not subjective.
The thing is, right.
Yeah. So there is an objective.
My moral standing is that if you have a woman making the right choice,
the right choice? What does that mean? You're assuming that there's an objective standard of right. Right? Okay, so who says it's the right choice? What standard do you point to say, yep, that's right?
You just correctly said that there's a woman that has to have an abortion because of a reason.
But I'm going underneath that. But I'm trying to get underneath that. Why do you say that that's right? Why do you say that that is right and just, but the mom who murders her baby in the bathtub? But I'm trying to get at your standard of right, because you just said if the mom's decision is right, and you don't have a standard of right. What's your standard of what's right and what's wrong? What about the has the established life. So that's your standard. So the babies don't have an established life yet, so they should die. Is that your
What are
standard?
you going to do? You're not taking your foster care. You're not actually helping these women. So you're sitting here.
We are helping these women.
How?
60 babies could have been dead.
You want to talk to 60 babies? You want to talk to 60 women?
What?
Let's go talk to the 60
We
women.
have. We've talked, as they walked in, we've talked to them. They left. They talked to us. We have all their information. And again, 38 of those 60 babies are plugged into the local church right now.
And then your church. I would love to hear this.
Yeah. Now, but by the way, all of this is superfluous to the issue of abortion. All of it is. Because the argument against abortion cannot be that the system is broken. And it cannot be that the church is inconsistently pro-life. I would agree. The argument against abortion has to be these children are alive, they're image of God, and they deserve to be protected. That's the truth. At conception, they're a human being, and they deserve our protection. That's the standard, and that's God's standard. So I would say for me, my standard of right and wrong is black and white. God's spoken, and He's given us His law. And you live in a way that you believe they're all black and white standards. You just said, chattel slavery in the South, black and white, it was evil. But you have, in the South, the majority of the people said, no, it's the righteous thing to do to own slaves. What about in Nazi Germany? A vast majority of them thought it was righteous to murder Jews. Was that evil? Yeah, and it's black and white. There is an objective standard, and you live that way. You see, the ultimate truth is you live in such a way because you live in God's world. You are in His image. You're created in God's image, and you know the value of life. And you live in a way that you do. You foster kids, you love them, you care for them, but you're here patronizing a place that murders them in the womb. You're not being consistent with your love for children. I'm not saying you don't love children. It's clear you love children. I would call you to be consistent with your love. That's what we're here to do. Yes, I agree. Here's what. No, absolutely not. I don't think it's fine. But what I am saying is, the image of God is oozing out of you right now. You know that it is, because you know that these children matter, and that they should be protected. And when they're not, it breaks your heart. It breaks your heart when they're not. And the very same thing is happening in this place every single day. Instead of the child taking his own life, with how atrocious that is and heart-wrenching that is, that child had a choice, right? These children don't.
You guys are going to say that they're pro-choice people. They're questioning their position. They're questioning their pro-life position because of how insane you are.
What happened?
Do you see what I'm saying, though?
What happened?
He was an accessory to murder. Yeah. You'd have to ask him. But yeah, God saves murder. The gospel saves murder. Do you see what I'm saying, though? Because I truly believe you love children. You do. But I would say the only way you can get there is if these children actually do matter. You have a choice to kill a child. Okay, so we'll go back. A poor 17-year-old mom.
If a horse breaks his leg, you shoot it.
Yes.
Okay?
Why?